Welcome, everybody, to the Week 8 Sailor Jerry Saturday podcast. Apparently, we were not going to have the podcast, but Billy started crying, so now we have to. Thanks a lot, Billy.
Thanks, Billy.
And as normal, we have myself, Jake Carocci, Keith, the Pokemon Master Kwasigroch.
What's up?
And Nikko, he's 35 now, Velazquez. All right, so just like last week, to get into this podcast, we will review Week 7 outcomes and standings. So just quickly to review the current standings, and then we'll review the matchups from last week, see if any of us got any of our predictions right. And I think we actually had some people get them right this week, besides one of us, but you'll see. But currently the standings are as follows. We got Keith number 1, Billy's number 2, Casey's 3, Nikko's 4, Jimmy's 5, Dorf is 6, and that would round off the playoffs if it were to stop right now. So Keith and Billy would have a bye. And then we have 7 Trickus, 8 is Grono, 9 is myself, 10 is Basla, Trim is all the way down to 11.
Uh-oh.
And then Kinto holding off that bottom spot again, Don 108. So those are the current standings. And then as far as last week matchups go, I'll start off. And I had Keith against Trim last week, so I had Crafts Rub Route against Carpet Munchers last week. Keith ended up having the victory here. He won 108-70. I did not predict that matchup correctly. I thought pretty much I went with Trim. I went with Carpet Munchers just for the fact that I thought he was overdue. And I thought that he could win. He obviously had horrible luck again with Mahomes getting hurt, dislocating his knee. That was huge. Obviously, in my other league, I had Mahomes. That really sucked because he makes a difference. And he only had 10 points. He literally could have had 25 more points, and that kind of makes things a little bit more interesting as far as the gameplay goes. But weirdly enough, Mahomes is pretty much a freak and was practicing this week. And
they still ruled him out.
They ruled him out. He's not playing this week, but he was literally practicing, taking second-string snaps, and his offense coordinator said that he looked like his regular self out there. But I would assume he's missing this week, probably going to miss another week, but I think it's going to be on the shorter end of the 3 to 6 week time frame that they have him being out. It's probably going to be closer to the 3 weeks. I mean, that's what it seems like at this point, which is huge for Trim.
Yeah.
It obviously really sucks overall because he is such a main component to anybody's team because you have to draft him so high as a quarterback. So, but Keith still ended up losing that matchup in the QB last week because he had Matt Ryan.
Somehow.
Jeez.
Who also did not have a good game. Did he leave early?
He did.
Yeah, okay. That's why. He only had 4 points.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he has an ankle injury too, and he's actually questionable for Keith this week as well, but he might play. He's still on the brink this week, but and then the big for Trim against Keith, the big matchups were pretty much the main positions. Trim, none of Trim's players showed up, and then Michael Thomas obviously did Michael Thomas stuff for Keith. He had 9 catches, 131 yards, so he easily won. Him alone won that matchup between Tyler Boyd and Jeffrey for Trim, and then Austin Eckler and Sony Michael actually did work. Michael had 3 touchdowns, or Michelle, whatever. Sony Michelle had 3 touchdowns for New England against that route beating against the Jets because Sam Darnold was seeing toast.
So bad.
It was so bad, but I thought it was so funny because I had the Patriots in the other league, and every time they got to the red zone, I was like, oh, they need a fumble, they need an interception, and then Darnold will just throw off his back foot like a ninth grade freshman on a varsity team and just get intercepted.
To quote Sam Darnold, I'm seeing ghosts out there.
Yeah, they're super pissed about that, but I mean, he was seeing ghosts. Every throw was the same, off his back foot, and then just launching it in the air. Like, who does that?
Side effects from mono. That's what happens.
Yeah, apparently. But Austin Eckler did work to 118 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown against Tennessee. So just one of those guys alone would have beat Adrian Peterson and Montgomery for Trim, whose Kamara was hurt. That kind of hurt Trim a lot because Alvin Kamara wasn't playing. But Trim won the tight end battle. Jimmy Graham scored against the Packers against the Raiders. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers went off, had 6 touchdowns through 5, ran 1, so that was just a monster game for him. And then the flexes were pretty boring, and then the defense and kicker were pretty even for both teams. So really, Trim's players just didn't show up as far as his wide receivers and his running backs, but he kind of had a down week anyways with injuries and buys.
Sorry, buddy.
So that's just a recipe for a loss, and that's what happens. So Keith took that one 108 to 70, and I had Trim winning, so I did not get that prediction correct.
Okay. Next matchup we have here last week is the Juice is Loose, Billy's team, versus Kiss the Baby. I believe I picked this one correctly, so you're welcome, Billy. Billy was giving me some flack in the group chat there. I didn't understand why. It's like, dude, I got your back. So, whatever, man.
That's funny.
But just right off the bat, QB matchup, Kyler Murray versus Russell Wilson. Everybody thought that Kyler Murray, that was going to be a continuation of that passing game. He was going to pop off this weekend. And then Chase Edmonds just took that game over for real. He just dominated. Mm-hmm. And I read an interesting article about that is because whoever that what is it, Cliff Kingsbury is his name?
Yeah.
That spread offense that he runs with 4 wide sets all the time, Chase Edmonds didn't see an 8-man box the whole game.
Why didn't Shermer or anyone change that up?
I don't know. They just never adjusted. Never had 8 men in the box.
He was running 8 yards without getting touched, like literally a dozen times.
Yeah, it was so
dumb. And 3 of them were for like 25+ yard touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's like, our offensive line is horrible to begin with. We need to have more people in the box, but I don't know.
That's tough.
I don't know.
Yeah, but everybody, before this game happened, predicted a Kyler Murray shootout. So if you're a Kyler Murray owner, you're severely disappointed. And obviously Billy was this weekend, but it ended up not hurting him in the long run. Adam Thielen and Cooper Kupp were a wash. Allen Robinson has just been continuously a target machine. He's like really one of the only bright spots in that offense at this point.
That's what Mitch does, man.
Yeah.
He just stares
at
him
him.
Time. Yeah.
Really, it's truly what it is Mitch just looks at him the whole time and fires it at him.
That's it.
Yeah. So he beat out Geronimo Allison on Kiss the Baby side by a significant amount of points there. It was a huge factor in that matchup. Royce Freeman got in the end zone for Juices Loose. He's a touchdown-dependent guy, but if it happens for you, he actually outscored Le'Veon this week, which starting Le'Veon against the Patriots is nuts. You don't want to start anybody against the Patriots, especially a running back. So 8 points there, you got to kind of be content with. And then
Le'Veon only had 8 points?
Yeah, he only had 8. And Saquon and Aaron Jones, that was essentially a wash. Aaron Jones actually ended up beating him by a point. And then both these teams have stud tight ends that would typically, they finish the week at top 5. And Evan Ingram and Zach Ertz both did not even have a game at all. Ertz squeaked out just under 5 points, and I don't know what happened to Evan Ingram, but he must have just disappeared. Or
he got poked in the eye.
Yeah, and he had a couple drops after that.
Yeah.
which could have probably realistically would have gave him 3-4 more points.
Yeah.
They're like 20-yard catches.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That he'd miss.
So, Billy, with the 2 tight end strategy here, Austin Hooper. Matt Ryan loves Austin Hooper. It's just a fact of the season this year. And I don't know if Matt Schaub likes Austin Hooper though. So if he has to play, it might be a little different. But it seems to be working for Billy now. He put up 13 points, but he lost by 4 points to Derrick Henry there, which talk about a touchdown dependent running back.
Mm-hmm.
Although
he is, but
they give him the ball.
He gets the ball 20 times on average without peppering in, 1 to 3 targets.
Yeah. And I hate to say it, but I watched that game, and it seems like Tannehill has rejuvenated that offense ever so slightly.
I can't believe Tannehill rejuvenated in the same sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But all of a sudden, Corey Davis was the hottest waiver wire pick this weekend.
Oh,
and you're like, what?
Yeah.
So we'll see if that trend continues. But that helps Derrick Henry owners because the more times that Derrick can not see 8 men in front of him, better it's going to be. Really, the ultimate factor that decided, or one of the ultimate factors that decided this matchup was Jacksonville's D for Billy versus Cincinnati. Anytime you can start anybody versus Cincinnati it's an obvious go because they have no offensive line, so it's like you're guaranteed 4 or 5 sacks, a fumble, and an interception, and that's what happened. So I picked Billy, and I'm glad it worked out.
Word.
All right, for this next matchup, I had Casey versus Trickus, Blue Jesus Chicken Wing versus Friar Douglas. For the quarterback matchup here, pretty dead even. Dan Jones going for Trickus and Tom Brady for Casey. Each guy, 1 TD pass here. Daniel Jones had 2 fumbles lost, but each guy not getting over 17 points. Brady finishing with 16.45, just outscoring Daniel Jones 14.65. So very even on the quarterback front, the battle there. I mean, and as you guys had mentioned, if you guys watched that, New England Jets game, the defense was giving the ball back to Brady, and the run game was the primary point of attack there. They weren't really going to the air at all. Wide receiver battle, DeAndre Hopkins, Cortland Sutton. DeAndre Hopkins balled out. He 9 receptions, over 100 yards, and a reception TD. That's the line that we're used to seeing from D-Hop.
Yep.
And he came out and did that. Cortland Sutton, I know when I was doing the review or the preview of this last week, I was high on him, and I still am. 6 receptions for 87 yards. He's a solid wide receiver. And now that Emmanuel Sanders has been shipped out, his target and his ceiling is going to go even higher. He had a quiet game, 11 points, 11.8 points, but again, 6 receptions, 87 yards. His target's going to go up. I'm really high on Cortland Sutton, and I think he's going to be good going forward. The other wide receiver battle, Michael Gallup versus Julio Jones. Julio Jones is still a threat regardless of how bad that Atlanta's performing. And I shouldn't say they're performing bad. They're still putting up points, although only 10 against LA. But he's still getting close to that 100-yard mark every now and then, and only 7 yards short for Julio Jones in this game. And it still outscored Michael Gallup with 3 receptions and 34 reception yards against Philly. The running backs here, pretty lackluster for the most part. I'm looking at the points here and just it looks like the running backs combined for Casey, for Ingram and Williams. Each guy, looks like they didn't get over 9 points combined. Very, very quiet games out of the running backs, and same goes for Trickus. Marlon Mack had, 8 points, 44 rushing yards, couple receptions. Devontae Freeman punched Aaron Donald and got ejected out of the game, so he wasn't really doing much.
Like a real OG.
I know. I had him on my other league, so I was really angry when I saw he got ejected. And before that, he hadn't done much. 2 receptions for 19 yards, and 19 rushing yards, 2 receptions, 6 reception yards. So 4.3 points. The running back battle, again, as I said, not really seeing a lot of fireworks here for this one. The tight ends were pretty dead even. Greg Kittle surprisingly had a very, very quiet game for San Francisco. But again, the final score was 9-0. It was just a defensive domination by
Nobody.
Well, it was raining.
Tried
it was like
the rain.
water park.
Oh, yeah. Did you guys see the slip and slide celebration? That was nice. So, yeah, and that this goes to show, too, anytime you have that, weather playing a factor, and it will, that's something you got to take into consideration when you're selecting your lineup. I don't even know if anyone knew the forecast for that San Fran-Washington game, but that's definitely something, whenever you're picking someone, you got to take that into consideration. Is it snowing? Is it raining? Is it inside the dome? So very low scoring there. I had Coleman for San Fran. He didn't really do much. So as expected when you have a monsoon going on.
It's crazy that they even made 3 field goals.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Dude, Robbie Gould. Former Bear.
He's Robbie Gould.
Hawkinson for Detroit, 3 receptions, 32 yards. Again, another quiet afternoon from a tight end. The flexes here, though, did see some fireworks. Tyler Lockett, as I had mentioned, is just an all-around deep threat. He's always going to have that long ball, and there was a big connection there, although it was in a losing effort against Baltimore's defense. And then Brown for Buffalo had a very good day. I know all 3 of us were pretty much in agreement that any player going against Miami's defense is always going to be on the up and up, the chances of scoring high points. And Brown did that. 1 reception TD, 83 reception yards. So that and 5 catches. So that not a bad afternoon. The kickers here, as we had mentioned, Robbie Gould, 3 field goals, 9 points. Butler had 14. And then the defense was a wash. Minnesota putting up 5 points, Tennessee with 6. So overall, a couple of bright spots here and there for each team, but really a very low scoring effort for both players. No one going over 95 point or getting over 94 points, but it was enough for Casey to get the victory. He beat Trickus, and I got this projection wrong, as I got the other one too. I didn't get any of them right this week.
Yeah, Trickus kind of screwed himself on that one. He plays Kirk Cousins or Chase Edmonds. He wins that easily.
I don't know what he was doing with Daniel Jones. Kirk Cousins was so hot. Hey, he's been hot. I don't know why. Trickus, I don't know what you were thinking there, man.
Sucks.
All right, Nico.
Oh, yeah, and then we'll go back to back here. My apologies. So the next one I had here was Grono versus Dorf. As I had mentioned, I got this one wrong as well. I took Grono, and Dorf came out on top. I honestly think, guys, when it comes to these predictions, I'm just going to go whatever my gut says initially. I'm going to go the opposite because I can't get anything right here. So for this one, big discrepancy right up front, which, again, we already know the reasoning. It was a monsoon in that San Fran-Washington game. Garoppolo wasn't going to get much going. I don't think anyone could have gotten anything going there. And Stafford, four passing TDs, 40 points.
To the same guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And the guy that I had that had to go up against, that wasn't fun. So 40 points right off the bat. That's always a great start when you want to see from your quarterback. Wide receivers, T.Y. Hilton having a really good connection with Jacoby Brissett. I think a lot of people were down on Brissett in the Indianapolis offense initially once Luck had announced that retirement. He obviously had learned behind Tom Brady that he was going to, he knew some things, but I don't think people knew he was going to be this good or serviceable, I guess you could say. He's doing well. He's a top 10 quarterback, I believe. Yeah. So that connection right there is definitely real. I think a lot of people were predicting T.Y. Hilton to have an off year once Luck announced his retirement, but not the case. Robert Woods, not bad. Just shy of 11 points, 80 reception yards, 5 receptions in that win over Atlanta. Tyreek Hill, 1 reception TD, 74 reception yards to Will Fuller with 1.4 points. Did he go down in that game? He got injured in that game, right?
Yeah.
So
dude can't stay on the field.
it
He
stinks.
just can't stay on the field.
Ever.
No.
And I understand why Grono would play him. I mean, everyone saw that big game he had. Why wouldn't you put him on there? So that's a shame. He got injured again. Running backs, we all know the story with this. We know it was a Chase Edmonds show in New York, and Johnson with 2 rushing yards, unfortunately for that case. But for anyone who's a Chase Edmonds owner, you're pretty happy at this point. Dalvin Cook, oh my gosh, talk about a guy that has really come away from an injury from last year and has just shown up. Has been. I honestly, and I'll be the first to admit, I had a chance to draft him, and I was shy. I did not like the fact that he had an injury from the previous year, especially with an ACL. The guy has been absolutely torching the league. So I know Grono's happy with that selection. The running backs, and I know for a fact when I was reviewing this, I had given the running back check mark to Grono, and I still stand by. I think he has three of the top running backs. Although if Gurley gets his utilization up, he should be getting up there. But Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, that 1-2 punch is very scary, and it proved. Going up against Tevin Coleman, which again monsoon game, so a little asterisk on that. Tight ends, 2 juggernauts. Everett's sort of coming into his own now that Jared Goff is looking his way more and more. And Darren Waller out of Oakland. I don't think anybody had even thought that guy was going to be relevant. But again, we saw what Jared Cook did in Oakland, and that those receptions had to be replaced. But I don't think Waller was on anyone's radar, and he's just been killing it this year. For the flexes, Todd Gurley against Chark. And, not that Minshew's getting away from Chark, but he's sort of spreading the ball around. D.D. Westbrook is getting involved in that offense on the reception side.
Yeah, he likes him. He peppers him a lot. He tosses him. I think 54% of his passes are to him or something like that.
Yeah. So 53 reception yards, 3 catches, and 20 rushing yards. Not a bad day, but Gurley had that 1 reception TD. And anytime you have a running back that can not only run it across the goal line, but can catch and then hit pay dirt, that's always a plus. For kickers, a wash. 14 points, 12 points, 14 points for Grono, 12 points for Dorf's kicker. And then the defenses, same thing. Grono, I don't know if he drafted San Fran's defense or he picked him up off of waivers, but regardless, nice pickup or nice draft. San Fran defense has been really paying dividends for you. And Buffalo's D's, no slouch either. They're doing pretty well, but 18 points to the 13 points. Overall, though, despite having a very good defense, Grono, and 2 stellar running backs, Dorf's, I think, 40-point effort and that huge discrepancy to the 7.55 points Garoppolo had put up was, I think, the difference maker here.
Yeah. Yep.
And that gave Dorf the overall win and my second consecutive incorrect pick for this week.
I do want to point out that Grono dropped the 49ers, and I picked them up.
Oh, no.
This week?
Yeah.
This week? Why? Why would you do that? Grono, are they on a bye? What are you thinking, dude?
They are not on a bye. They're not on a bye because
who are they playing?
Them.
No. Grono, what are you thinking? All right, let me readjust my power rankings here.
None of this makes I'm pretty sense. Sure. Yeah, I'm playing them this week. They're playing Carolina.
Oh, my God.
Grono, all right. What you're doing there, man, but I hope maybe there's a method to your madness. Good luck.
I believe in you. All right, so the next matchup of last week, I got the game between you two knuckleheads. And I believe, if I recall correctly, I picked Jake.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I picked Jake on the premise that Jared Goff was going to have a rejuvenating game. He's going to bounce back, throw a bunch of touchdowns, and that's going to be the deciding factor. And that's pretty much what happened. If you look at Jared Goff versus Carson Wentz, Carson Wentz, he just got slapped by Dallas in Dallas. His coach guaranteed a win earlier in the week.
Yeah, tough.
You shouldn't do that on the road. You know, it's just bad strategy, I guess. And Carson got slapped. He didn't throw any touchdowns, so sorry, dude. But you know, that's what happened. Jared Goff did his thing versus Atlanta. Atlanta has their front four is all right, their defensive line, but they have the worst secondary in the NFL statistically. So that helps Jared Goff, obviously. Kenny Galladay versus Julian Edelman. Kenny Galladay disappeared because Marvin Jones Jr. They must have just really liked that matchup. Whoever was guarding Marvin Jones Jr., I'd hate to watch tape all next week because that's just going to be brutal.
This is why you're on the practice squad now.
Yeah. You have lost your job. Julian Edelman showed up. He's going to be the most consistent wide receiver in Patriots from here on out, barring Mohamed Sanu somehow supplanting him, which I doubt it. He had to take a flyer on Auden Tate versus D.D. Westbrook, which Auden Tate, if Indy Dalton gets some time to pass the ball, maybe he shows up, but they just don't. So D.D. took the nod there, and then sorry for you, Jake, but your boy Carry On. That sucks.
Hate to see it. But he's gone, and he was gone after only giving you 2 points.
I know.
So
Disappointing.
Yeah, it sucks. Chris Carson showed up for you, Nico. Pretty much 10 points is probably his floor.
Yeah.
So it's not ideal in a losing effort, but you can't anytime somebody puts up 10 points, 10 points is like the range where you're like, okay, well, I'm not really mad at myself. Yeah. You know.
It's so true.
Yeah. Philip Lindsay also, just in a losing effort to Kansas City. For some reason, Joe Flacco just can't throw the ball at all. I don't know what it is, but Philip Lindsay and that other guy, Royce Freeman, they're going to see 8+ boxes every single game because they have shown that they're obviously committed to the run, which if there's running room and you're not down by 30, it's fine. But if there isn't, Philip Lindsay only gets 4 points.
Yeah.
Delaney Walker. Damn, Jake. The team's just...
I dropped that bitch.
Yeah. It just... but the great thing about that is whatever that Dalton or whatever the hell his name is, Knox, only 3 points. So for Nico,
in Walker's defense this week, it wasn't because Tennessee just sucked. He actually got hurt and didn't play.
Yeah, he got hurt, right?
And didn't play this week. So if he wasn't hurt, he might have matched his 3 points. You never know.
This match here, really, the deciding factor was quite obvious, is the flex play of Latavius Murray versus Miles Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
Jake picked up
bench Joe Mixon, baby.
Yeah, like you said earlier, put Joe Mixon where he should be because that offense is terrible. You plug in Tay, and no Alvin either. Tay gets all those touches, and he balled out.
Yep.
Put up 30 points for you, and that was the deciding factor. Even though every week the New England D shows up, and to the tune of 28 points for you, Nico. 28 points from a defense in this league is absolutely ridiculous. And
it's not the first time. That's like, I mean, given their easy schedule to begin, I feel like they could probably do it this week. They're playing the Browns, but after that, they got the Ravens, Kansas City, bye week. So I don't think they'll be putting up 28, getting 5 interceptions and a fumble recovery. But
It'll slow down, but they obviously are the best defense in the league. They
easily
completely embarrassed Sam Darnold. Like, that was just, it was embarrassing to watch. It was embarrassing to watch, honestly. So, in summation, what's got to hurt the most here for you, Nico, is having Marvin Jones on the bench.
Yeah.
For a 40-point effort.
Or Brissett almost had 40 points, 38.9.
Or and Brissett too. Yeah. I mean,
so we can say that this was just a manager win because I just outplayed Nico. I benched Mixon, picked up Murray. I made the right play, and he just made multiple wrong plays. So we can just say that I am, a better manager this week. It had nothing to do with the players. I just outperformed you personally, myself.
Bro, you closed your eyes and threw a dart at a wall with names on it and just landed on Latavius Murray.
You're right. That strategy beat whatever strategy you had.
I was drinking coffee and just did any, mini, money, mo.
Right.
Yeah.
So I believe I also picked J-Fed as the winner. Jake's team.
Did.
So
you did.
Is that the first 2-0 that's happened for this podcast?
It is.
Yeah. All right. So not to toot my own horn, but I'm gonna toot my horn.
There's a lot of weeks left. We're only halfway through, and you're gonna have a lot of L's in there. I know that. You're gonna go 0-2 this week.
Yeah, but you got to celebrate the little victories. You gotta enjoy the dubs when they come in.
True.
So, you had a good week. You had a good week for sure. Your team won. You 2-0. Dallas won. So you had a good week.
Absolutely.
But all right. So for the last matchup, I pretty much had an easy home run here. It's a 3-1 count. Prime Giancarlo Stanton's up against one of the worst relievers in the league. Bases are loaded, and I hit a grand slam because I had Basla against Quinto.
Yeah.
And Quinto had 2 players injured still and a whole bunch of buys. So I told you he should just take the L. There's no even point of playing this week, and I think he pretty much got the hint because that's what he did. And Quinto lost to Basla, 136-66.
Oh my gosh! I didn't even look at this game. So bad.
It was Quinto. I feel bad for you, buddy. The good thing is in the other league you bumped up to 4th place, which is actually really good.
Yeah.
But you're still 12th place in this league, and you're not doing too hot. The Dolphins are 0-7. It's really bad for you starting off. But as far as the review goes, he had one player that beat Basla, and that was Golden Tate against Arizona. He got 11.3 against Ridley for Atlanta, who got 6. And everything else was all Basla. Lamar Jackson outperformed Watson in that game. Lamar Jackson is pretty much a rushing stud, and we all kind of figured he was going to do that. I think he has more rushing yards than like 8 other NFL teams this year.
Yeah. I saw that statistic.
Yeah, and it's like, that's insane. So he outperformed Watson, who had 20.6 points, which is the top scorer for Quinto this week. And Quinto just pretty much didn't have the players. He had D. Williams for Buffalo wide receiver. He had Matt Breida running back, D. Johnson for Houston running back, D. Fells, Houston's tight end, Singletary, Buffalo's running back, Minnesota's kicker, and Chicago's defense, and none of them scored over 8 points. So that really sucked for him. He was going heavy Buffalo and heavy Houston this week, and those guys just didn't perform in those games, and that kind of hurt him. But it's a good strategy for how many buys he had and injuries. But if those teams don't go off, his players don't go off. So horrible week for Quinto. And then on the other end, pretty much for Basla, Ezekiel Elliott went off, had 25 points. Jacobs for Oakland had 16, and then his defense, the Raiders had 23. So those are the big performers for Basil. He had a good week. Zeke's starting to heat up. He had back-to-back 20-plus points.
Zeke loves Philly.
Yeah, it's always good. Every matchup like that, division matchup, they always perform. But Zeke's worst week was his first week. He had 12.97 points. So he's consistently now getting a touchdown every week, rushing touchdown, and he gets the ball 20 times a week. And then if he's lucky, he gets 6 catches as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's a stud, like we all knew he would be. And Melvin Gordon's still a question mark. He just doesn't get as many pass catches as Eckler. Eckler's just pretty much, that's their role. I think that's what it's going to be the rest of the year. Seems like they're going to keep Eckler in there. So who knows, Melvin Gordon? He's just going to have to be rush dependent, I guess. And if he doesn't get a touchdown or then he won't perform.
They haven't seen, since Melvin Gordon's been back, they haven't seen a game script where they're up by, they have a lead and they're trying to protect it.
Right.
So until that situation occurs, Melvin Gordon is probably going to be on the back burner in that offense. As long as they're playing behind, it looks like Eckler's going to be out there.
And it was also mentioned, too, I saw that Melvin Gordon, I don't know if he told the media this, that he's like, I'll never miss an off-season training program ever again.
He's feeling it.
Yeah, to some extent, that you guys don't. I never think about it, but these guys do really need to get football ready. Yeah. There's guys who do their own off-season training, but it goes to show that even a top athlete like that still admits it and is like, yeah, I definitely should have been going a little hard in the off-season, holding out for that long.
Well, shit.
I agree. Definitely didn't work to his benefit this year.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen with them. The stinks with the Chargers, the thing with them is every year they're always in the game.
Mm-hmm.
No matter who they play, it's like SU basketball. They always play to the opponent's level, no matter what the situation is. And a lot of times they're down in the fourth quarter, and it's on the last drive that they have to either tie it or come back for a win. Yep. And with that being the case, Austin Eckler's in there in the fourth quarter, and he's getting those check down passes all the time. And that's just the way their game script always plays out, I feel like. But in the end, for this matchup, I had the correct pick. I picked Basil to win, and he did. Basil won. So that is the matchup reviews for Week 7, and the prediction records as of right now. It goes Keith is 3-3. He's in the lead, and myself, I am in second with 2-4 record, and then Nikko's in last 1-5.
Where you at, buddy? Where you at?
Man, that's
I gotta consult my globe. I don't know what that'll do. I'm gonna start tossing darts on a wall now.
Get some tea leaves. See where they point.
But that is it for Week 7 review. Now let's go to power rankings.
Power rankings.
All right. So for the power rankings, like every week, we'll each go over our top 6 because that's what we think is pretty much playoff-ready teams right now, and then we'll go over the consensus 12 at the end. But I'll start it off. You guys were kind of similar this week. I had a different output as far as my top 6 goes, and this is what it is as follows. My number 1, I have the juice is loose. I have Billy as number 1. I think that pretty much with Saquon Barkley back, Billy's team is deadly. I know I talked a lot of crap about him in the beginning, but that's because Saquon was hurt, and his team just wasn't appealing with Saquon there. But obviously with him as your number 1 running back, it doesn't really matter who your number 2 is. He's a stud. So on that alone, I feel like plus his record, he's 5-2. He scores a lot. I think he's like 3rd or 4th on the scoring as far as tops. Yeah, he's 4th as far as scoring goes. But yeah, he's 5-2. He's in 2nd place right now. He's won 3 in a row. and I really like his squad. He's got Aaron Rodgers, Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, Zach Ertz, Austin Hooper, Adam Thielen. He's got a good squad. So I'm putting him at number 1. For number 2, I have Blue Jesus Chicken Wang. I put him as my number 2 slot. He's 5-2 as well. He's currently in, I believe, 3rd place. Yeah, he's currently in 3rd place, but I really like his team. He's got DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans. He has Mark Ingram. He does have Sanders now, who just got traded to the 49ers. Mm-hmm. And he's got Devontae Freeman, Damian Williams. You never know as far as Williams go, but I still think that those are 2 solid running backs. Pretty much his wide receiver core is what I really like. He also has Gallup as his 4th wide receiver. So he does have Mark Ingram too for another running back. So I really like his squad. He's 5-2, scores 116 points a week, and I feel like that's good enough to get a win in this league every week. Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
Number 3, I have Crafts Rub Route. I have Keith at number 3, and he's in 1st place right now. So you got to have him up at the top. He's 5-2. I do like his team. He does score a lot. I think he's number 2 in the league for scoring, and he's got Michael Thomas, Juju, Keenan Allen. We talk about that every week. His wide receiver core, and Austin Eckler, and like we said, he continues to put in points. So until Gordon gets in shape, until they change that game script, Austin Eckler is a great play. And then Sony Michel, you never know with him. He could score 3 touchdowns or not score at all in that offense. But that's his number 2 running back, and I think that's a solid number 2. He does have Mark Andrews as the tight end with Lamar Jackson. He does get a lot of targets, so that's a solid tight end as well. So I do like his squad. And then for number 4, I have Nico. I have Seabass at number 4. He is the highest scoring team in the league, 127. And I think his record, he's in 4th place. He's 4-3. His record could be better than what it is. But, like I said earlier, he just mismanages, He's just like.
I also have the most points scored against me too.
He does. But no, he's got a great squad. Julian Edelman, Odell, Chris Carson, James Conner, Marvin Jones Jr., Jamal Williams, who stinks. And then he's got a good team. I think he'll be there in the playoffs. I think he'll be there with that squad, 127 points per week. And then number 5, I have Kiss the Baby. And Jimmy, I just don't think his team has performed yet. I really think his team is better than what he's been doing. He has Cooper Kupp, Le'Veon, Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry, Evan Ingram, Russell Wilson. He's got a good squad. He has Corey Davis now, and like you said, who knows what's going to happen with Tennessee? Maybe they wake up. So he's 4-3, and I think 4-3 is. I think his team is better than a 4-3, so I still keep him up there. And then as far as number 6, I have Friar Douglas. I think he, out of a lot of people, is underperforming as well. He's 3-4. He's got a losing record, but trick is he has a good squad right now. He's in 7th place, but he has Tyler Lockett, Julio Jones, Christian McCaffrey, Marlon Mack, George Kittle, Kirk Cousins, Cortland Sutton. He's got a lot of good players. That's absolutely just Christian McCaffrey alone is you're gonna win some games with him. So I think he's not performing to his capability with the amount of points that he scored. He just had a couple bad losses. But that rounds off my top 6.
All right, I'll jump right in here. So for mine, pretty similar, a little change up at the top here. My number 1 is Keith Crafts Rub Route. The guys continue to be consistent number 1. And again, I'm a big guy on points scored because I know that just because you have the record, I think points speak the most. And I'm not just saying because I have the highest amount of points. I'm just saying you put up points, that's what gets you the victory 9 times out of 10. And Keith is consistently at the top. He's second in most points scored in the league. He's 5-2. The guy obviously is doing something right with his team. 2, I have Billy. I like Billy's team. He, again, 3-game win streak. He is also putting up a boatload of points. And with his team, I think the dangerous, which you sort of alluded to, Jake, is Aaron Rodgers getting comfortable finally in that offense. It took a couple of weeks, which, again, Aaron Rodgers is human. It's going to take some time to digest a new offense, but I think he's literally got both hands now on the wheel with this. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of what we just saw this past week going forward. So I think Aaron Rodgers is going to start to be real dangerous. Chris Godwin, as we all know what he can do in Tampa Bay, now that people are really keying in on Mike Evans, it's opening up basically a highway for Godwin to the end zone with also catches every now and then. I know I gave him a lot of slack for Royce Freeman, starting him as a running back. I see him more as a flex, but again, him and Philip Lindsay basically have a pretty even timeshare in Denver, and he's usually the guy that's getting the nod when it comes to that red zone or within the 5 to 10 yard line and getting the ball. Saquon Barkley is always dangerous. So not to get too much on Billy's team, but up and down, I really like him. And I think the biggest thing, too, he only has 6 moves in the league, the least amount of everybody, and he's second. So his team, it just goes to show that his team really is what he has drafted. So Billy, definitely a pat on the back for you, man. You're doing something right there. Let's see. For number 3, I have myself. I did take a loss this week against Jake, which was tough to swallow. But I think if I would have had Odell Beckham and James Conner, there would have been a little bit different.
Yeah, you would have lost by more.
Yeah, I'm sure. Let's see, number 4, Casey, Blue Jesus Chicken Wing. I've had him up there consistently. I think Casey's team is definitely dangerous too. At any point in time, can go off. So I like him at the number 4. Number 5, Dorf, you're doing something right here, man. You're coming up the 4-3 now. You're game above 500. Your team, whoever you come up to match up with, you usually you're outperforming. Obviously, it shows with the record. So keep it up. And then number 6 to round out there, I have Jimmy. And sort of all the points that you had already stated, Jake, his team up and down is well and should be performing a little bit better. I think I stand by what I said in the group chat. I think you trading away Julio Jones for Josh Gordon, who now is on the IR and released out of New England, was a bad call. He had a bum wheel, and I think you giving away Marlon Mack for Aaron Jones, which might not hurt you at all, but we'll see, man. I'll keep you at 6, but we'll see going forward how that trade's going to affect you now that you got rid of Julio and Gordon's not in New England anymore.
Yeah, that never helps. So very similar to both of you on my end. Number 1, I have myself here. And I think I've shown before that I'm willing to humble myself, but after a Sony Michel 3-touchdown outing and Eckler still doing what he's doing, I have a little bit more confidence in my running back core than I usually do on a week-to-week basis. As long as they do things like that and my wide receiver core performs at the pace they have been this season, I'm going to be in a pretty good position. So I'm happy about that. Number 2, I have the juices loose. Billy's team, like you guys said, Saquon back. He's well-rounded at every single position, and even the tight end position, which is one of the tougher positions to have a solid player at. He's got 2 of them. So obviously his team is trending upwards, and I see that continuing. Number 3, I have Seabass, yourself, Nikko. Like you said, you scored the most points in the league. If you're putting up points like that consistently, you're going to win games. And that's the whole point of this thing that we're doing. So,
Cheers.
right? Your running back core is great. You just also at the same time are dealing with having the most points scored against you, and that never helps the record there either. So It's a tough week every week for you. Number 4, I have Blue Jesus Chicken Wing. He's got the solid running back core. His wide receiver core is excellent. Like you said earlier, Jake, with Mike Evans and DeAndre, anytime you can pair those two people together, the chances of your team blowing up are significant. His only question is what he's doing at tight end. I think streaming. I think he's got to mess with like Kyle Rudolph or somebody like that, which
that's tough.
It's never fun.
Yeah.
Number 5, I have Kiss the Baby. Just like you alluded to earlier, Nico, the moves he's made have proven very detrimental to his team at this point. Although Aaron Jones did have a solid day, but anytime you give up somebody of Julio's caliber for somebody who's no longer on the field anymore, that hurts. And so now he's stuck with Corey Davis, which maybe that's a rejuvenated offense, or maybe it's Corey Davis. You never know. But I would never be too high on a Tennessee Titans receiver ever. So I got him at 5 this week. And number 6, I got Scary Terry Sharknado Dorf's team trending upwards when everybody is healthy. His team seems to fare well. However, they're not healthy. So David Johnson is what has he got, back issues or something? I don't know what it is. But he didn't play. I don't know what's going on with him. It's just it's tough to beat Dorf right now. But when his team's healthy, I like his team a lot. So that's my top 6 there.
Nice. All right. Now I do want to point out, I think that you guys are a little light on Trickus's team. I do want to point out and kind of give Trickus credit, because even though he sends a lot of trades, he is constantly trying to make his team better that way.
Yeah.
And he has Tyler Lockett and Julio Jones now, and Christian McCaffrey and Marlon Mack and George Kittle. So I think that Trickus, out of everybody with the moves he's making, has the most potential. He's already and without those players, he has 845 points, 120 points a week. So I just think I just wanted to give Trickus kudos.
Where'd you have him in your top 6?
I had him 6.
Yeah, I got him at 8. I mean, like I said, he's on despite all the moves, he's on a losing streak. He is putting up points, and I know how that feels. But I'm looking at also, who's on the up and up and whatnot. So no, I give him credit.
I think this is his first time with his squad.
Yeah, so we'll see.
We'll see how it plays out. I actually got that matchup, so we'll see how it plays out. But as far as consensus goes for power rankings, we have number 1. Craft's Rub Route. Number 2, The Juice is Loose. They actually had tied scores as far as my calculations go, but Keith had more number 1 votes, so I put Keith number 1, and then Blue Jesus Chicken Wing number 3, Seabass number 4. Again, they had the same points in my scoring system, but Blue Jesus Chicken Wing had a higher ranking in one of ours. And 5, Kiss the Baby. 6, Scary Terry Sharknado. 7, Friar Douglas. 8, Balls Deep All Stars. 9, J Fed. 10, Sean Archer. 11, Carpet Munchers. 12, Don Juan 08.
Sorry, Don.
Don Juan having some tough luck. All right, so those are power rankings through week 8. Now we're going to go through week 7. Now we're going to go to week 8 review and matchups.
Matchups and predictions.
All right, so for week 8, first we're going to kick it off with Nico, go over the matchups, and we'll do our predictions.
All right, so J-Fed versus Don Juan, Quinto versus Jake. Now, This is tough because a game's already been played. We're doing this one a little bit late, so there are points on the board as we speak. Bailey went off, surpassed his prediction of 9.99 points, got 18. So, that definitely is going to play a factor in swaying my decision. But, I have seen what your team can do, Jake. You did get one of the two running backs in Detroit. It looks like that they're going to be going to now that Carry-On is bumped up or out. You got McKissick, and then I believe the other guy was who's the other guy? Ty something, right? Who's
Johnson.
Yeah, Ty Johnson. So you got one of them. It's gonna, hopefully it works out for you. And McKissick is the go-to, but I think that's going to be a timeshare there. So that was a nice pickup for you to get, at least someone.
Yeah.
But starting off, quarterbacks, again, Goff doing what he did in Atlanta. Maybe he'll continue that trend. And again, it's against Cincinnati. That's a nice matchup that I could see
huge
Goff.
Matchup.
Yeah, airing it out. Watson against Oakland D. Again, it's going to be brutal. I think definitely they'll stick with Watson going in the air as well. For the check mark on this, I'm going to go with my gut, and I'm going to say Goff getting this one against Cincinnati's defense.
Yeah. I got good matchups this week.
Yeah. So I like that one a lot, despite Watson being projected more points. I'm going to take Goff in that. Wide receivers, pretty even here. Kenny Golladay against Golden Tate. The big question here is Matthew Stafford found his new favorite friend in Marvin Jones Jr. Is Kenny Golladay, or is it going to be sort of the same scenario what's going on in Tampa? People eyeing on Mike Evans. Godwin, is going to get the more catch there. So now the people are going to be eyeing on Golladay and maybe double coverage or whatnot. Is Marvin Jones Jr. going to be the beneficiary? We're going to find out. Golden Tate had a really good game. Was the only bright spot in that game against Arizona last week. They're playing each other pretty even. I'm going to go with Golden Tate getting the check mark for Don Juan on this one. D.D. Westbrook versus Landry against New England's D. I'm going to stay away from that. Westbrook. D.D. Westbrook against New York Jets defense. I'm just scared of any offensive player going against New England's defense. So that's
D.D. gets targets too. So
Absolutely. No, I have him in East Coast Elite. I like him a lot. Running backs, as we had basically beating a dead horse here, we've all said it. Phillip Lindsay, timeshare with Royce Freeman against Indianapolis defense. And Matt Breida coming off a concussion in that game against Washington. I know he cleared the concussion protocol, but you got to think if he gets hit in the head again in this game against Carolina, and Tevin Coleman's coming along in his own way, I like Phillip Lindsay despite having a timeshare. I like Phillip Lindsay against Matt Breida here because Coleman is coming into his own in that run first offense in San Francisco. And again, Matt Breida sort of, got knocked in the head, and he's, they're going to take it easy with him. Running backs, as I had already mentioned early on, McKissick. Again, we don't know how they're going to do the timeshare with him and Ty, and Chubb has been, but New England defense. All right. No, I'm staying away from that one too. I'll go McKissick over Chubb, even though
he's playing the Giants, and we all know the Giants defense what Chase Edmonds did. So that's a good matchup too.
This is going to be my reach because I like Chubb. But again, as I had just already said, anyone going up against a New England defense, we've seen what they can do. And it's not like Cleveland is some high-powered offense. They've had good games. Absolutely, they've scored points. But New England is just making statements out here with that defense. So I'm going to give McKissick the check mark. Tight ends, pretty even here. Font versus Olsen. I like old man Greg Olsen. I think he's consistent. Kyle Allen seems to like him too sometimes, although I did review 1 week where Greg Olsen went catchless in a game. So that is that floor of having 0 points is still there, which is crazy to say because Greg Olsen is definitely an athlete and a talent despite his old age. And Font has been dropping balls left and right in Denver. I know Flacco's still throwing it to him, but man, the guy butterfingers. The guy is dropping a lot of balls. Cortland Sutton seems to be the primary target, as I had already said, for Trickus's team. So I'm going to give Greg Olsen the check mark.
Sanders isn't there though.
That's
anymore.
True. But I think it's gonna. I think Hamilton's gonna sort of come into his own there as a wide receiver in Denver, and I think Cortland Sutton is going to continue to increase and be a bigger player in that. But yeah, you're absolutely right that also could help him out a little bit.
Maybe
there.
not like drastically, but you make it another target or two,
and then drop those targets.
Perfect.
For flexes, I saw what Latavius Murray did to my prize Bears defense. They're not the defense that I know from last year. He cut them absolutely apart, and I think he will do that again in a controlled weather setting inside a dome in Arizona. So I'm going to give Latavius Murray the check mark over Singletary, who I love. I love Buffalo. I love Buffalo Bills. I love any Buffalo Bills player. They're close to my heart. Going to Niagara, going to those games every weekend. I like Singletary a lot, but give me Murray. I learned my lesson. I saw what he did against the Bears, and if he can do that against a downtrodden Bears defense, I can only imagine what he's going to do against Arizona.
Yeah.
This is where it's tough to pick a kicker because Bailey's already put up 18 points, so I'm gonna give that an easy check mark there. I don't think the Rams kicker.
18 is a solid day.
That's a solid day. How do you say that? Zerline?
Greg the leg.
I don't think he's past 18 points. And speaking of defenses, San Fran, you did pick that up. You picked it up from John. Man, what a pickup.
John.
I know. That literally is the WTF moment of the week right there. I'm going to start doing that now. Right there. That's the WTF move, dropping a San Fran D after what they've done in this league. Jake gets them against Don Juan's Chicago D. Oh, man. I got to go with my hometown. Chicago D is going to outperform San Fran. So my gut is definitely pointing for Jake, but I'm going to go with my rationale. I'm going to go with my thought process. I'm going to do the opposite because I'm 1-5 here. And right? So I want Jake to win. That was my first initial knee-jerk reaction pick. But I'm going to go Don Juan getting the double.
Wow, Don gets the nod right off the bat. Okay.
Right. Okay. Pick the Don.
Wow. All right. So next matchup here that we have is Seabass, our good friend Nico here, versus the Balls Deep All-Stars, who we just kind of alluded to earlier with a controversial move, letting go of the San Fran defense only to start the Colt defense versus Denver this week. So we'll see what happens there. So Jacoby Brissett versus Phillip Rivers. Jacoby's home versus Denver, and Phillip is playing Chicago. Despite what you just said about your team, Nico, I am a little bit higher on Chicago's defense still. I believe it's in Chicago. Yeah. So I gave Jacoby the nod in that matchup. Julian versus T.Y. Hilton. I like Julian in that matchup as well. I do believe Cleveland gets their corners back this week though, so that will be interesting to see. What's that kid's name? Greedy Williams, and they drafted him out of LSU, I believe, and they get another dude back. So we'll see if that proves to be wrong for me. But for right now, I like Julian over T.Y. in that matchup. Odell and Kenny Stills. I think Kenny Stills can step into that Will Fuller sort of role and catch bombs, or he can't. Odell, like you said earlier, playing the Patriots, he's either going to see Stephon Gilmore or he's going to see one of the McCourties. And
Gilmore's a beast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, it's just hard. So I gave the ever so slight edge to Odell just because of the low
He's
floor
Odell.
because he's Odell, and the floor for a Kenny Stills is potentially one catch kind of
Zero.
game or zero catches. So there's a lot of risk there. Although I will say I saw something pretty funny. Odell was in the media again, and he was talking about what Bill Belichick says to him before every game.
Yeah.
Something to the like, I hope you're gonna have fun out there because you're not gonna catch anything, or like, essentially. So
Bill Belichick says that.
Yeah, Bill lets Odell know that he essentially has schemed him out of the game every time they play.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's like, I hope you're
he
enjoying
that.
today because there's not going to be much for you here.
Yeah.
There's a video I saw, like how they do the mic'd up, and Bill Belichick always just throws jabs at everybody because he did that against like Ocho Cinco, and he's like, yeah, our call is Blue 85 or something like that. He's like double covering you all day, and he's like, and Ocho Cinco was like laughing at first. And he's like, wait, are you serious? And then Belichick is like, yeah, you think I'm going to let you score in my stadium? And he just like giggled and walked away. And Ocho Cinco was like turned around and he was mic'd up. It was funny. He's like, damn. He's like pissed.
But Bill obviously backs it up and has been backing it up for a long time.
Yeah.
With that said, I still give the slight nod to Odell.
Yeah,
running backs here, just like we mentioned earlier, the Vikings already played the Redskins, and Dalvin Cook already did his.
Dalvin Cook. Same Brazers, bro.
Right. He did his thing. He's been the best running back. Well, arguably one of the best running backs in the league thus far, and the train keeps rolling. I don't see Chris Carson putting up 25 points versus Atlanta. It's possible, though. That game gets out of hand. Matt Ryan doesn't play. Chris Carson could see a lot of just runs just to kill the clock, just to end that game. So it's possible. I don't see it happening. Now it goes to Dalvin there. James Conner, Leonard Fournette. James Conner gets a dream matchup on a Monday night versus the Dolphins. Extra day of rest. And I believe Rudolph is back. That always helps.
A lot of rest. He's just coming off a bye.
Yeah, and he just came off a bye, exactly. So Connor's going to be super healthy. The Dolphins' defense is super terrible.
I'm hoping for super points.
Super points from that one. Exactly. Fournette is going to do his thing versus the Jets.
Yes.
The Jets' defense isn't, they're mediocre. They're middle of the road there. Their front four is all right, but it's the Dolphins. So I give the nod there to James Conner. Eric Ebron, Gerald Everett at the tight ends. I gave this one I gave the nod to Gerald Everett there just because of
Cincinnati defense.
Cincinnati defense, pass volume of the Rams offensive there. It looks like he is in a prime matchup to eat there. Eric Ebron is one of those dudes where just one of the many tight ends that could have a great game or it could just be completely game scripted out and will have 2 catches. So
it's pretty even as far as him and Doyle as far as
he's
snap percentage goes. I think they're pretty much at 50% snap rate.
Yeah, I miss Will Dissly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Will was your bread and butter there. Flex position, we got Marvin Jones Jr. versus Todd Gurley. Now, I know, Nico, you saw 40 points on your bench, and you're like, I can't ever let that happen again. So Marvin Jones slides in there. And Todd Gurley versus Cincinnati is who you're up against this week. Odds Marvin Jones has another 4-touchdown game, slim to none. He probably will have a great game, or at least, he will at least see his floor, his projection, 11 points in that game. I see that. Todd versus Cincinnati, that game can get out of hand real fast.
Mm-hmm.
And if it does, Todd is definitely going to be a part of that. I gave a slight nod to Todd in this one. And then you have the kickers here. pretty much a wash. Fairbairn is projected a couple more points than your guy Nico Sly. And defenses here, anytime you can start the New England defense, you're happy at this point in the season. Grono's got Indianapolis versus Denver. Like you said earlier, I'd probably rather have San Francisco this week, but whatever. New England is probably going to expose Cleveland like they've exposed everybody. We'll see if Baker Mayfield also sees ghosts out there. He's kind of got that same gunslinger attitude that Sam Darnold has. And if he's going to float up passes to Jarvis and Odell, they're going to get picked off, and he's going to have a bad day, which will be for you.
You're going to have a bad time.
He's just going to have a bad time. So we'll see what happens.
When you're supposed to pizza, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah. So
it's just my face, sir.
I see Baker doing that. I see New England getting above their projected 11 points. All that being said, to wrap up that matchup, I am going to give the nod to Nico.
Wow.
Take Seabass.
Need that good juju.
All right. So that leaves it to me. So as far as my first matchup this week, I have your very own Crafts Rubber Out against Kiss the Baby. So with this matchup, it's a very good matchup this week. Both teams are good. Yahoo has a slight victory going over to Kiss the Baby, but when you break it down position, let's see who I pick. First, we got quarterbacks. Jimmy's got Russell Wilson. Keith has Josh Allen this week because Matt Ryan may or may not play. So I don't know if Keith's going to put him in there if he does play, but as of right now, he has Josh Allen in there against Philly. So with this one, I'm going to give the nod to Russell Wilson just because Atlanta's secondary is horrible, and I think he can scramble against their decent front. So I think Russell Wilson is going to have a good day over Josh Allen against Philadelphia. So I'm going to give the nod to Russell Wilson for Jimmy. And then wide receivers, Cooper Kupp against Thomas. Again, the Rams going against Cincy at home, and then Thomas is going against Arizona at home. Both very, very good matchups. And it's tough. I'm going to give the slight nod to Michael Thomas just because it's Michael Thomas, and it's tough. It's a slight nod. I do like Cooper Kupp against just because they're playing Cincy, but really it's the second matchup is Metcalf for Keith against Davis, and who knows what's going to happen with Davis for Tennessee this week, like we were talking about, and what's his first name?
DK. He's going against Atlanta secondary. So I feel like they're going to have a slight nod. I'm giving the slight nod to him as well. So I will give the overall nod for Keith for the wide receivers. I do like his matchups. And there's a question mark on Davis. Who knows what's going to happen with them there, because we all know what's going to happen with Tannehill. With Tannehill. Yeah.
You never know with him. I mean, obviously he had a good week last week, and Davis had a great week last week. He scored 6 catches, 80 yards, but I don't know. It's just a question mark. So I'm gonna go with the basic matchup, and I'm gonna go with Keith's wide receivers, and then for running backs, we have Le'Veon Bell for Jimmy against Eckler for Keith, and then Aaron Jones against Sony Michel. And I'm gonna give the slight nod to Jimmy on this one, just because he has Le'Veon and he has Aaron Jones. I think overall those are better players than Eckler and Michelle. You never really know with the game scripts what's going to happen for them. They are very game script dependent. At least with the Jets, we know that all they have is Le'Veon Bell. And I'm going to give the slight nod to them. Aaron Jones, I think that's going to be a high-scoring game with or without Patrick Mahomes. So I think he could get a touchdown. And then Ingram for Jimmy against Hunter Henry. I'm going to give the nod to Jimmy with Ingram on that for the matchup against Detroit.
What a terrible choice.
Why? Why do you think that's terrible?
Why do I think that's terrible?
Yeah.
Have you seen Hunter Henry?
I've seen Hunter Henry.
You know Keenan Allen's not playing?
I did not know that, but I don't care.
Okay.
Sticking with his guns.
Yeah.
I do like your flex, though, Keith. Juju against the Dolphins, and then Derrick Henry. Again, he gets a lot of touches, so he could have it. I can see him getting the 12.95, but I can also see Juju finally doing some work against the Dolphins this week and getting his 14.22 easily. So I do like that matchup. I give the nod to you for the flex. Kickers I have as a Walsh, Lutz for the Saints, and then Crosby for the Packers. I do think that both of them, I can see both of them getting, a lot of touchdowns in that game. So a lot of 1 points here and there, maybe pepper in a field goal for each. But I do see a lot of touchdowns being scored. So
Peppa.
And then defense, I have the New Orleans. I'm giving the nod to Keith for New Orleans for against Arizona. And then Jimmy's got Seattle against Atlanta. I'd give the nod over to Keith there. But overall, I am going to give, the check marks were pretty even. You each had 3 of my check marks. But I'm going to give the nod to Keith on this one. I'm picking Keith because, until Austin Eckler decides to not show up, I think he has good running backs, and with Michael Thomas and Juju playing the Dolphins this week, I just really like his matchups, and I'm going with Keith. I think the big matchup is going to be Russell Wilson against Allen. That could be a big difference, but I'm just going to go going with Keith on this one.
Appreciate you.
Okay. Not bad. I'll take this next matchup. Sean Archer versus Blue Jesus Chicken Wing. Casey versus Baza. Right off the bat, again, I have the benefit of having a game played, and he had 2 players going. Kyle Rudolph, tight end, going for 4.13 points, and Minnesota's D, hitting right on their projection, 14 points, which is a solid day from a defense. Despite all of that, he's still living up to his projection of 119.93 points, which is more than what Joe's team had. And I feel bad for Joe. He has some stellar players that are on bye weeks. I have the same exact players in the other league, Ezekiel Elliott and Lamar Jackson, and in another league, and they're both on a bye. So he's sort of getting hit with that bye bug right off the bat. But his incumbent is Bridgewater, who we've seen is being very serviceable in Drew Brees' absence. So the quarterback battle, I'm going to give the nod to Bridgewater. Tom Brady, as we have seen, is still Tom Brady. The guy, without a doubt, is a master at his craft. But I'm starting to see that he's not putting up those games where every week where he's like 3 TDs, 4 TDs, 4 TDs, 3 TDs, 355 yards. They got a running game. They got a stellar defense. And I'm not going to say that Tom Brady is ever a game manager. The guy is an all-star MVP. He's the GOAT for a reason. But I'm just justifying why I'm taking Bridgewater over Brady here. Bridgewater's been pretty stellar, so I'm going to give him a nod.
Keith.
Wide receivers. Yeah, was that Keith? I was like, what is that vibrating? Is that your phone?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my phone's going off.
That's all right.
I don't know if you guys can hear it.
So rude.
Yeah, it's all right. Hold on. I'm going to get back on here. For the wide receivers here, D. Hopkins is definitely going to get the nod here over Williams from Oakland, although he's been pretty solid for the most part. I like D. Hop. You can never not pick D. Hop. Wide receivers, Robbie Anderson, who I did see is on the trading block, so that's going to be someone to hold on to for Baza. You don't know if he could easily go to a high-powered offense, a playoff-ready offense. So that's, even though he's projected for 9.98 points, just a little side note, hold on to him, Joe. He's going to be possibly moving from New Jersey, I should say,
to the Patriots.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine?
Yeah. I hate that.
versus Mike Evans. I'm going to give Evans in this, even though I have been saying that defenses are definitely scheming for Mike Evans. They don't want to see him have his breakout games. He still does. He still does have his games where he, has 8 catches for 190 yards. He did that against New York. As of recent, he had 17 targets, 9 receptions, 96 yards. So the guy is still very much relevant in that Tampa Bay offense. I like Mike Evans in that matchup. Running backs here, Melvin Gordon versus Williams. As I had mentioned, Baza has Ezekiel Elliott on the bye. So obviously it would have been nice to have Zeke in there. They're literally both projected about the same. I'll give Melvin Gordon the check mark on this, as it's been noted and people have seen, he's definitely a little bit rusty, getting back into football ready shape. I think, against a Chicago D that I know and love, but they're just not the same D as I had seen from last year. I think Melvin Gordon has a pretty good game here, so I'll give that the check mark. Devontae Freeman versus James White. Hopefully Devontae Freeman doesn't try punching Clowney or any other defensive lineman in this game. So I'll give Freeman the check mark in this. Tight ends, even though Kyle Rudolph has already played, I was never going to pick Kyle Rudolph over Kelsey. I mean, I'm not a madman here. So Kelsey, just, seeing this, I was going to pick him regardless. For the flexes, Brown, who had a great game against Miami's defense, goes up against a Philly secondary, and Jacobs, who has been, he's questionable. I had seen in the Twitterverse that he is it a shoulder injury that he's walking around with, so he's questionable. If he's a go, I give the nod to Jacobs. For kickers, a wash. Kicker's always a wash. Myers is solid in Seattle. I know Baltimore had held him down to a couple of field goals, so he's definitely a solid kicker, but I'll give that a wash. And then Pittsburgh's defense against Miami, despite obviously this game being played, Minnesota putting up 14 points, I gotta take. I think Pittsburgh's D is gonna outscore 14 points. I think they're going, as Keith you mentioned, it's Monday night. They're coming off a bye, a lot of extra rest. They've had another week to prepare and scheme for Miami offense, which it's Miami. So, and it's in Pittsburgh. Miami Dolphins, they don't like the cold weather. I'm gonna go Pittsburgh D on this. Overall, check mark. I want Joe, but I'm going to go the opposite and say Blue Jesus chicken wing on this. That's my rationale for this week. If it doesn't work, I have another idea what I'll do for next week.
Blue Jesus it is.
All right.
All right. So the next matchup here we have Juices Loose versus Scary Terry Charknado.
This was called for.
Yeah.
They requested it.
Yep. Yeah, because of the controversy in the group chat earlier. So I'll do my best to sort of break this down fairly. First matchup here, we have Aaron Rodgers in Kansas City, and we have Matt Stafford home versus Giants. That's 2 dream matchups for either one of those quarterbacks. Both are going to be throwing a lot. Aaron Rodgers looks like at this point it doesn't even matter who's out in the field. He's just slinging it all over. And Matt Stafford's doing about the same thing. And neither one of those team secondaries are anything that I would be scared of. So they're projected to score the same in Yahoo, and I think it's going to be very close as well. So I got that one as a wash. Next up, Allen Robinson, Robert Woods. Like we talked about earlier, Allen Robinson is just a target hog in that offense. Robert Woods is one of the many pieces of the Rams offense. He can have a great day. He can also have a day where he's kind of off and he's out there just kind of blocking or running reverses or whatever they're calling. So I'm going to give the nod to Allen Robinson on that one. Stephon Diggs already played. He had 140 plus receiving yards and a fumble. And I could see Godwin having the same type of day. I like Tennessee does have a defense. Adoree Jackson is a good, and they have Malcolm Butler too. They're two corners. They're solid corners. I think Godwin underperforms a little bit this week. So I gave the nod to Diggs on that one. Royce Freeman, Carlos Hyde, both touchdown dependent. Carlos, he seems to be getting more touches in that offense, but still a Houston running back is not a great position.
Yeah.
I have that pretty much as a wash. Where this game really kind of separates for me is Saquon and Tyler Johnson. Obviously, if you have to, you start Tyler Johnson. I think Dorf, if you're starting David Johnson, it'd be a different story. But obviously he's hurt, so you can't there. Could be, you don't know. In any of these situations, obviously he's the top waiver wire pick, right? But you never know exactly how he's going to be used in the offense that week. You just don't know. So it's an inherent risk starting him. Could prove to be fruitful, or it could prove to be kind of dumb. So we'll see. Tight ends, Waller, Ertz. Ertz runs into the Buffalo D in Buffalo. Don't like that matchup, and Waller gets to go to Houston, and Waller is essentially a wide receiver that just happens to line up in the tight end position. I gave the nod to Waller there, and Austin Hooper, Tyreek Hill with the flex. Tyreek, Sunday night, Green Bay.
The cheetah.
It's Matt Moore this weekend, which probably brings his numbers down a little bit. And Austin Hooper, but the same thing, Matt Ryan might not play. So what does that do to Austin Hooper? All things considered, I think you got to give the nod to Tyreek in that.
Of course.
Scenario.
Yeah, if you're Matt Moore, who are you gonna throw to? Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce.
Yeah. Kickers, like we said, are always a pretty much a wash unless something happens crazy. Jacksonville home versus the Jets. Buffalo home versus Philly. Two pretty good matchups. I would be happy playing either of those defenses in that scenario. Sam Darnold just got absolutely exposed last week, and I think Jacksonville is obviously going to take a page from that book. Darnold's going to be seeing a lot of the same schemes. I think he's going to have a tough time versus Jacksonville. And so I gave the slight edge to Jacksonville. In that regard, overall, that means that I am sticking with the juices loose for the dub this week. Wow. Sorry, Dorf.
Ooh.
All right, that's a juicy matchup. All right, so for the last matchup of the week, I have Friar Douglas against Carpet Munchers. Trickus versus Trim. So right now they have Yahoo has Trickus winning. He did have one player already play. Nobody's played yet for Trim. But Trickus had Kirk Cousins play. He had a mediocre game. Didn't really do much. Didn't throw any touchdowns, but scored 14.45 points. Obviously underperforming his projection. Before, if I got this before, I would have probably picked Kirk Cousins over Minshew. They both have good matchups. Minshew's playing the Jets, and Kirk Cousins was playing the Redskins. I definitely would have picked Kirk Cousins, but obviously I don't have to anymore, so I'm going to pick Minshew. I think he outperforms 14.45. So I think
great
he
insight.
More than that. And
nice.
As far as the wide receivers go, Trickus has Lockett and Julio Jones. Both have decent matchups. Well, they're actually playing each other. Lockett has a better matchup, but Jones is home, and it's Julio Jones. Against Tyler Boyd and Jeffrey, Cincinnati against the Rams, and then Philly against Buffalo. It's tough picking any Cincinnati player, even though Tyler Boyd gets 10 targets a game. A lot of those targets are throwaways that he was relatively in the area. So, I mean, who knows? He can definitely get his projection, but I'm going to pick Tyler Lockett over him. Alshon Jeffrey at the Bills. You never know. He could definitely get his projection, but I'm picking Julio over him. So I'm giving the nod to Trickus for the wide receivers. And then as far as the running backs go, Trim's got Montgomery and Kamara. I don't think Kamara is going to be playing. He might. If he does, he'll probably be split snaps with Murray, even if he does play. But they have a bye next week. So I feel like the smart play is to not play him. But right now he's questionable, so he definitely could play at this point.
And taking a look at Trim's bench, too, he doesn't have a running back. Both running backs played already.
Right, that's tough for him. But Trickus has McCaffrey and Mack. And I'm going to give the nod to Trickus on this because of the question mark with Kamara, Montgomery, and then Marlon Mack and Christian McCaffrey. Even if Kamara plays, I'm still going to give the nod to Trickus. Kamara's just a stud. And Marlon Mack can definitely get his projection of 12.99. But then we have tight ends, Jimmy Graham for Trim at Kansas City, and then Kittle versus Carolina. Jimmy Graham is very touchdown dependent, but Aaron Rodgers has been hot, so he can definitely get that touchdown. He likes to target him in the red zone just because he's big. And then George Kittle is not the George Kittle of last year as far as getting 1,300 receiving yards, but he still gets 5+ targets a week. And, the 49ers are a great team. I do give the nod to George Kittle here. Yeah. So I give the Trickus the nod. And then as far as flexes go, Trim has Larry Fitz, and then the ageless wonder against Cortland Sutton. With Sanders not being there anymore, I do like the matchup for Fitzgerald, but I have to give a slight nod to Sutton. I just think that even with Sanders there, he's good. He gets 8+ targets a game. And I feel like that could just go up. I feel like he's still going to get 8+ targets a game, maybe even more against the Colts. So I'm going to give Sutton the nod. Kickers are a wash. Gold and Lambeau. And then Tennessee defense against Detroit defense. I'm going to give that a wash as well. So overall, I think that Trickus just has a better team, he just has a better squad this week. And I'm giving that to Trickus. Sorry, Trim, but you have that injury bug. And if Kamara doesn't play, then it's going to be even more impactful. So I'm definitely going to give the nod to Trickus on this one.
Yeah, I feel you.
So okay. We got you got the review of the predictions?
Yeah. So in summation here, Nikko has Don Juan and Blue Jesus Chicken Wing coming out on top this week. I have Seabass and Juices Loose winning. And Jake has Kraft's Rubber Out and Friar Douglas coming out on top. Those are the picks of the week.
Yep, those are the picks. And before we go, you guys have any other inputs through 7 weeks?
Yeah. Sort of what Keith did at the last bit of the video. He posed a question. I got one. So the big rumor going around is Tom Brady Belichick, possibly the relationship coming to an end. The big motivation behind it is, can Brady win one without Belichick and Belichick win one without Brady? What do you guys think? Do you guys think if that is the case and they do split, who has the better advantage to make that happen, to win one without the other? Belichick has the better or Brady?
I'll go first in this, and I will say Belichick has the advantage. Only because what we've seen in the past where Brady has been hurt, and then they plug in Brian Hoyer, Jacoby Brissett, whoever, and they still go out and win all the time. Obviously, Tom Brady just magnifies Bill Belichick's scheme, but it's his scheme that allows for so much success and for people to thrive. So if I had to choose one, like I would rather have Bill Belichick drawing up the X's and O's for my team rather than Tom Brady passing for my team.
Gotcha. And again, him going to like a playoff caliber team, good defense, good weapons, you'd still take Belichick.
Yep, I definitely
I
would.
think I think that's a good question, and I think that I also would have Belichick, but I feel like it's more of their situation is more just because Brady's old now, and Bill Belichick is going to be a coach longer than Brady's going to be a player, and Belichick, I think both of them, obviously they're both geniuses. They're both the top at their position and as a coach. And Belichick definitely is, the better option as far as the question goes. I do think that Brady could win with other teams. I think that I don't think that's the question. I feel like it's more of, well, when Brady's gone, what position do we want to be in? And I think they're trying to, ramp up for that. But if I think they can win again this year. So if Brady wins again this year, then and he's still healthy, that completely changes everything. I think that they just go year by year. But obviously he's getting old. But yeah, I would definitely would rather have at this point. If you asked me 15 years ago, it might have been different. But at this point, I would rather have Bill Belichick.
Yeah. Give me the mad genius. I'll take him.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He's Brady's still good though. Brady can still launch at 42. He's very, 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 very smart too. I think that if he was on another team, he could definitely make it to the Super Bowl. Another Super Bowl caliber team, he could definitely make it.
Yeah, that was the debate I kept coming across on Twitter and Fantasy Pros and everything. They were just saying, is it one without the other? Who would benefit more? Who could get them to the big dance?
It's like, I feel like if Tom Brady wasn't on the Patriots and he was on a different team, Bill Belichick would have more Super Bowls than Brady would at this same point.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I don't think that Brady wouldn't have any, and maybe he would have a couple, but I still feel like Belichick would have 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I feel you.
So, but that's just my opinion. But anything else before we wrap it up?
No, just congratulations to you and your fiance, buddy.
Thanks. Absolutely, man.
Absolutely.
That was huge.
Yeah,
Can't wait
absolutely
for the wedding.
happy for you. Yep.
Thanks.
Kudos
And Trickus having twins.
And Trickus having twins.
Congrats,
oh my God.
Trickus.
Yeah, congratulations,
Jeez.
Daddy Trickus. Well done.
We're getting old, guys, but I love it.
A lot of big things happening. A lot of big things.
I love everybody. I love all you guys. But that's a wrap for week 8. Adios.
Peace.